Well, hello folks, it's me, Pacific. It's about 12:18 p.m. and I'm going home. I wanted to update everybody again. I have had a lot of people offering prayers and showing their sympathy and concern, and I appreciate that more than you all know. I wanted to update you on some things that have taken a turn for not so good. My son's health, he sat up on the bed today with legs swung over. They're going to try to make him stand, but I wanted to bring you up to speed on some things. And part of this is dealing with our things that we've talked about with regards to some of the problems with American females. I called the detective today to inquire about the police report. I actually have to send off $10 and get that sent to me. They don't have a place where you can go down physical and pick it up. And it was disturbing to find out that the young woman has no motor vehicle insurance, no proof of insurance. So, needless to say, that was a huge atomic bomb. I talked to some of the hospital people, told them about the situation, said I need to know what I'm supposed to do. The hospital staff have been awesome. They said I wouldn't worry about this. Found out today. I called my ex. She's at work. She just came in now for her lunch break. And I want to tell you that her face is always tense. She's always very rude to me. Always, unless she needs a favor. She's made no effort to get the police report or start the ball rolling on anything. I've been already proactive on all fronts that way. I told her that girl didn't have insurance. And she goes, well, you need to go get a social worker or whatever and see if you can get insurance for them. I talked to one of the nurses on duty that's with my son, and I told her everything, and she said she dropped. And I asked her, I said, when did you drop our son's health insurance? She said October 2014. Viewers, she never contacted me and told me that she did that or was doing it. I got that silly little note in the mailbox, unsigned, unaddressed, unpostage. My uncle knows about that. She's done nothing legally with me to show that we need to get together and agree upon a health care plan for January 2015. She sent that one note unsigned saying you're responsible. I told you what the divorce decree says. Well, bottom line is he has no insurance, and the ding-dong woman that was driving has no insurance. So I told the medical staff, what am I supposed to do? And they were very nice, said, well, the hospital will work with you. They're not, before Obamacare, 50% of our patients had no health insurance, and most of them didn't owe any back. They said that before you leave this hospital, that they will make sure that your son is on Medicaid or something. So that's encouraging. Because of it being Martin Luther King Day, there's a lot of just a skeleton crew going, so the social worker was not on the premises. And I was told by several people, don't worry about it. And one lady told me, one of the nurses that's been at his side today said, sounds to me like your wife didn't follow protocol, especially when she drops the insurance last year, doesn't tell you, and the divorce decree states that she's responsible for it. I wouldn't worry about it at all, but I would look at filing for custody. But I want to talk to my viewers about that. Filing for custody, a man going up against a woman. I know one guy that spent $40,000 and they didn't grant it to him. I talked to my son today, and he told me that if I interfered in any way with this relationship with this not so good person he's hanging out with, that he would hate me and wants nothing to do with me. So in the middle of the accident, again, day 2, he still doesn't get it. I told him repeatedly I love him, and all he wants to do is sit there and instant message people on his phone. And he doesn't get it, viewers, and I know he's 15. I have called my sister, I've called my uncle, I've talked to people far and wide. I've talked to people on Skype who got to see inside my son's hospital room and him, and even introduced my son to them. And basically the bottom line is my son is in pain, which I understand, but he is only focused on his agenda. His mother came in just before I got in the truck here now, and I explained to her, I said, very politely, I said, because you're the primary, I said, and because of the situation, they're going to mail you the bill for this. And I said, but I was told that there are some things that they will probably be able to do where this could be totally covered retroactive. And I said, and they will not have you leave the hospital without insurance. She goes, well, that's something you need to be involved in. I said, well, you're the primary and you're going to have to set that. But I said, my understanding is Medicaid, I think, is free. But even in all of this, she's still in a position of denial. I tried to talk to her about this friend that she's hanging out with. Last night, she was on 1 minute wanting to end all this. And I said, he doesn't even want to be involved with me if I put my foot down on that. And the valiant woman that she is not starts saying, well, it's going to take time for you to build a relationship because you haven't done that. This woman still, she dropped the ball with the health insurance. None of this is registering that she's been totally irresponsible for a paralegal and a professional. You don't drop a kid's health insurance and say, well, it's dad's job. You actually have to go through channels in a divorce decree state like that and get that written down. And she didn't make an agreement to meet with me at all. I didn't bring up anything today. I talked to the physical therapist. I talked to some others. And I said, there's some big problems here. So viewers, rather than going on and on about this, I need your prayers. And this stuff is ridiculous, that I fear being drowned in a legal mess of monstrous proportions. She spoiled our son, let him do what he wants. And I said, you need to get him away from that kid. Well, I agree. Well, I'm on my lunch break and I don't have time for this. And it's funny, I then told her, well, they're going to mail me the police report as soon as I send that. And they also said they sent it to me in the email, but it hasn't come yet. Viewers, I'm telling you, this is an example of what women in the society have become. I called my sister, I've talked to several others, and every one of them were Christians that I spoke to this morning, and they said, you know what, God sees all this, and you need to let God handle this, because He sees it, He knows what's been going on, and you are, you didn't do anything wrong in this at all. She's been irresponsible. What I'm afraid of is how much is going to come after me on this. Unbelievable. But, yeah. I've decided to go home because it just seems at this point in the day that there's no point in me staying. It's just a cloud of depression hangs over my head. My son just really doesn't seem to care whether I'm there or not. I cannot believe, for all the talk I grew up with hearing about bad men, and I see what this woman has done, and she doesn't get it. Doesn't get it at all. And even my boy has imitated her followed in her footsteps. Venus Starr wrote a very fabulous letter to my son through online that I tried to read to him, and he basically tuned out. And it was very well written. The only thing I have to hold on to as far as people is I was very moved last night and this morning by how compassionate my viewers have been regarding this situation. You men and women have been awesome. And I'm being honest, I wish I'd have fled a month ago. I'm human, and I wish that I could go run and duck and hide somewhere. I don't like being involved in stuff like this. Not at all. And it's just too bad that you cannot you cannot make people see the light. You just can't do it. And it's just amazing. Totally amazing. Every one of you left comments. I hope this is a wake-up call to your son. I hope it'll bring you and your ex close together. It's not happening, folks. It's not happening. My son was in the room this morning and said, "Oh yeah, Mom told me back in October, I'm done paying this. It's time for your dad to pay for it." I said, "Did she tell you that she never told me that in October?" And he says, "Well, that figures. That's what she does." So he sees her. He sees exactly what's going on. I tried to communicate to my son today saying, we, depending on how this shakes down, we could be liable for a huge monetary mess. And I said, are you getting any part of your responsibility in this whatsoever? You're being rude to me. You're defending your friend. And I've talked to him, and I've tried not to raise the stress level, and yet at the same time, I took advantage of the time that, hey, you're not going to listen to me, and you got no choice now. And I just said, you get in a car, and his blood alcohol content was 133, and I think it's 0.8, which basically that's equivalent of 80, and 133 over the legal limit for a 21-year-old, and he's 15, and found out that the driver of the said vehicle, she was the one that supplied the alcohol. And I'm thinking, I told my ex as I left the room that, wow, see, this guy's honking at a car waiting for pedestrians to cross. People here are amazing. I also wanted to share with you, one of my viewers looked at the Facebook page of this woman that was the driver and looked at the punk that hangs out with my friend. And she said, "Man, you really got a dark subculture out there." She says, "I don't even remember seeing any of this in Florida." I want to say something to my viewers. The people in Denver are dark. I have seen, since I've lived here, that people are angry, aggressive. Even now, driving, most people are flooring it past me. This vehicle here is going the speed limit, which is a shock. But, yeah, it's not a good town, and I'd love to leave it. Well, with all this going on, I can't, not until the dust settles. And I need my viewers to pray for me, because it's easy to say fight for custody, but he will run. If I do that, he will take off, and it's just, we got problems all the way around. And what really bothers me the most is that a 53-year-old woman with a degree in psychology is an angry, bitter, childish, irresponsible woman who, if she'd have had health insurance on them, this would all be covered. And because she just let it drop last October, and then in December, 2 months later, decides she's going to tell me, well, it's your responsibility. She doesn't seem to understand that as a paralegal, you can't do stuff like that. Yeah, I'm devastated. I mean, what can I say to this? I go to work tomorrow with a dread hanging over me. Ever since I've been involved with that woman, I've got dread hanging over me. And it's disgusting. This is the gift that keeps on giving. And I would tell any American to be very careful about marrying in this country. And I'm sorry to take a shot. Not all women are like this, but a lot of them are. But even a lot of women I know, several of the nurses that I talked to, well, the nurse and a couple of people, the one said to me, she was irresponsible to drop that, and that doesn't sound at all like she kept up her end of the bargain, and I personally don't think you need to worry about this. She's responsible for that bill. But you watch, she's going to raise hell and cause a problem. It's crazy. And this morning on this punk's Facebook, there's just message after message referring to us as a-holes because we're not letting him come in and see our son. And it's just amazing. And one guy by the name of John Smith left a comment on that Facebook of his, said, "You're calling everybody stupid, but you're the one in the wheelchair." And all his little vitriolic, satanically, demonically infested pussy friends got on there and just called him every name in the book and put him down, and on it goes. And I just think that that's really interesting. Really interesting. This subculture that we're talking about with these youngsters getting on there is not healthy. The social media for them has become an underground sewer. There's a motorcycle cop sitting there. That's why everybody's going under the speed limit. That's the first time I've seen one of those out here in Lakewood. Seeing the damage that happened to my son, I look at these fools that drive the way they do, and you just want to hold up a video of that and say, you know, your driving could do this to you, or worse. It just makes me realize more and more that, you know what, I'd be content with living in a place where I was not in traffic anymore. I love to drive, but it amazes me how wrecked up you can get. It really, truly amazes me. We don't always think, if we're all honest, about the ramifications. I remember when I was in my 20s, I'd get in my Dodge truck and floor it with my 400 V8 and go tearing around corners and California stops. And now at 48, I go, that's just stupid. And God protected me. Don't ask me why. Why did he protect me when I was being stupid? How come other people... And here's what I was told by my son today. He doesn't remember anything about the accident. Nothing. And he suddenly remembered this today. I said, you got into a car after you were drunk, and a woman's actions have caused all this, and not once, with all your whining about things, have you mentioned her in any way with any kind of anger. I said, how come you defend that woman? He said, I didn't have a choice getting in that car. I said, what do you mean? Nobody put a gun to your head. And see, here's a car right here tailgating. Check that out. He's just following right on my bumper. And then he just backed off and I held this up. So that's what we're dealing with out here. And he told me that he was sleeping in a friend's house and he was lifted up and put in the car. But he doesn't seem to remember who did that. And I think that that's interesting because we need to find out a few things. But you can still, and I told my ex, you can still get an attorney and see if you can go after her. You don't know if she's got a savings account. You don't know if that's her parents' car. You don't know anything. And instead of saying, thank you, that's a good idea, she just wants to come after me. So I could go down in flames, viewers. I'm just going to tell you that right now, and I'm not looking forward to this at all. If anybody's got a work visa in another country that's ready in like a week, let me know. I cannot believe this stuff. I can't believe it. It's funny, when I held up this laptop, they saw my screen and they backed off and quit tailgating. I tell you what, the camera's a good thing. Crazy people. Alright, viewers, I'm home. Thank you, viewers, for caring. Thank you for your prayers. I confess to you that right now I'm doubtful. My faith is quite a bit weak, and I feel like I'm a lamb waiting to be slaughtered by this woman. I'm not trying to say this to get you to feel sorry for me, but I am going to say I don't believe I did anything to precipitate this, except that I married her. I don't understand the rationale of that woman. I don't understand how we can live in a country that used to be the smartest country in the world, the most technologically advanced. We got women, and yes, men too, that their thinking is so effed up that they can create problems and drama and think that it's everybody else's fault. I can't for the life of me make sense of that. I'm not a psychologist. I've been polite to all the orderlies, specialists, even the janitor lady came in, a black woman. I greeted her and said hello. I think of people the way they look at people like that, housekeeping people. It's like they're people. They're just doing their job, and they're not to be looked down on. And I look at this woman who doesn't say please and thank you to me, doesn't even be polite to me. Everything's my fault. Everything's my fault. And I've been down there now, well, since, 4:30 a.m. this morning till noonish, and she's coming in for a bit, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, folks. I don't know how to pray for this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. And it bothers me because I don't know what God's going to do. I don't know what he's going to allow. And wouldn't it be nice to be like Joel Osteen and live my best life now? And it's stuff like that that continues to really get to me, that preachers like him and Joyce Myers, they are living their best life now. They don't go through this stuff. And somebody would say, well, they didn't make the choices you did. No, but they're just robbing people blind and living the good life. I need to figure out a way to have my viewers, some of you have said that they would be willing to help financially and stuff. I don't ever want my viewers to think that I would ask you to do that. I don't know what this is all going to cost, but it's going to be outrageous. And I'm really hoping to God, and that God would come up with a solution where she doesn't have to pay either. And the reason I pray that, part of it selfishly motivated, is so that her anger towards me just subsides. But this is a woman who believes she's been a good mother, a perfect mother, and then when I'm leaving today wants to counsel me about how I'm going to build a relationship with him. And I want to just say, you are not. And if I said anything saying, Justina, you're not in a position to counsel me, you have failed, it would just go right on floor 2 of pediatrics. I'm amazed at the gall of a lot of American women. But there have been people that have copy and pasted stuff for me sent it to my email, my viewer friends. Shout outs to every one of you that have been praying and doing things. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would also, I do not know what has happened to one of my viewers up in Michigan. She knows who she is. I really have been wondering where she is and how she's doing. And I actually pay attention when people disappear that I like, for whatever reason. But anyways, enough of my rambling. I'm probably not on all 8 cylinders today, folks. But thank you. This is Pacific signing off. Bye-bye.